I said, bring my wife the gun. But please, don't let her hurt me now. That girl is just having fun. He said, I can't take you to heaven. I can't save your soul. I can't promise forever. Hey, yeah, save my soul. Hey, now, whoa, save my soul. Yeah, my, got my heart in your hand. I can feel my soul.
Hello, CCFL. This is the Commish Show number 4. It is now Wild Card Weekend. We've got a lot going on in the league. We're going to break down the games for you a little bit later, but I did want to say congratulations to all the teams that made the playoffs, and we also had some outstanding teams that just missed out. I thought that the Bucks and the Ravens and the Patriots and the Panthers in particular had great seasons, and I got to throw it out there to the AFC East too. The Bills, the Jets, the Patriots, all those teams, man, they were really tough games. They were well coached. We've got some great fits in those towns now, and although the Dolphins came out on top this year, I could see any one of those 3 teams in the East next year being the top dog. So to all you guys that narrowly missed it, sorry that it didn't work out for you this season, but I'm sure next year when you get a full year with your team, it's going to be a little bit different for you. For those of you that made it, this weekend, we've got 4 teams on bye in the NFC. We've got the Cowboys and the Bears getting to enjoy a week off before hosting a home game. And then in the AFC, we've got the Texans and Dolphins who each earned a bye, and they will also get that week of rest and then play the winner, of these wild card games. And so this weekend's games are the Broncos at the Raiders, the Seahawks at the Cardinals, the Titans at the Steelers, and the Eagles, who will be using a sub-coach throughout the playoffs, at the Saints. And to go into a little detail, I decided how I wanted to handle the Eagles situation. We tried to bring in a new coach 2 or 3 times in the last month, and it just one bomb after another. Our last guy who had extensive experience playing computer couldn't even message me on Origin and with a friend request so that I could add him to the league. Made no attempt to schedule with his game, and so that told me all I need to know. So we'll find somebody that is a little bit better than that. And anyway, so I'll be looking at some of the teams that narrowly missed the playoffs and choosing from among them who will run the Eagles throughout the playoffs. It'll be the same coach throughout the playoffs that will run them. And, I'm going to try to find the best coach that I can to do that. Good fit, scheme-wise, good fit, taking care of business, not being drama-wise. So anyway, that's what's going on with that. I will break down what I think about the games at the end of the show, but there's some other things I wanted to talk about. In particular, 2 things that I think are really important for everyone to know going into the off season once trading opens up and free agency. We are going to address the defensive sliders. I've posted about this everywhere, and I've mentioned it on the previous show, but I wanted to let you know that we really want to see our games be more defensive, lots less scoring. And so we're going to be looking at all of the sliders in a way that is going to enhance defense. So as you're out there thinking about your trades and you're out there thinking about how you want to draft, just know that. And typically when I say we're going to do this, you can count on the fact that it's going to be a significant change if I'm saying it is, and I'm saying it is. I don't think it's good for the league to have scores that are as high as we've had. I think that people are generally less butthurt and salty when it's a good defensive game as opposed to an offensive game where everyone scores every possession. So, I guess at some point our own personal tastes have to come into how we run the league as a commish and how we steer the CC. And while I'll certainly listen to the feedback from those guys, I've pretty much already heard from most of the coaches committee that the current coaches committee and the future coaches committee that will be taken over in the offseason are both pretty much on board that we want to straighten up our defensive sliders. So some of the things we're going to be looking at changing, we're going to be looking at increasing our interception rating. We're going to be looking at increasing our fumble rating because turnovers were a little bit low this year by and large. We'd like to see, maybe a turnover or two more a game. We want to see the defensive awareness in general increased. We want to see defensive tackling in general increased. And we also want to deal with, making sure our offensive sliders aren't too high. We'll look at our run blocking slider. We'll look at our pass blocking slider. And we're going to look at some of those other, defensive enhancements too on the sliders, and probably everything's going to get bumped a tad. Some of them maybe as few as 5 points, others maybe as much as 10 or 15. So I think that's a significant difference. We wouldn't make a change like that once the season got started because that's just not the way we like to do things. But as we finish off this season, we will definitely have a real hard look at that. So for those of you that have been, communicating with me that you'd like to see that, just know that that's in the works. We're going to look at some other things like on the play calling. We've got a few coaches that like to block their play call vision box. I think we're going to end that. I think it's good for the league to see what everyone's calling and running. And while it's easy enough to break down what coaches are running just by watching the game film, it kind of obscures the screen so much in the broadcast that I just don't like it. And so I really want to use our broadcasts as a way to promote our league as being different and better. And I just think that the blocked view thing sucks. So anyway, we're going to discuss that as a coaching committee. And we've got 2 coaches on next year's coaching committee that like that. So I know that we'll hear another point of view on that potentially, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's just something they're doing this year. But anyway, so we're going to look at no longer allowing any kind of blocked view on the play calls. We are going to make an effort to make sure that all of our games are broadcast next year. So we've got a few coaches that had rigs that weren't really equipped to do it, others that just didn't feel comfortable with the technology, but we have given them all season to get that figured out, and we've also got coaches that are going to be volunteering their time to help get them up to speed, but everyone will be broadcasting their games next year. It will be a league requirement, and that's where we're going to go with that. And so if people can't do that, then we'll have to part ways at this point because it is a disadvantage to have your stuff up and be scouted and then, your opponent's not scouted. And we don't want that to be the case. So that's going to get handled. A lot of these things are about bringing equity to our games, really. The scouting aspect, the defensive aspect, the blocked view aspect, just different things like that I think will enhance the overall play of our league. So that's where we're at with all of those types of things on the settings. Also, there is a salary cap bug. You can take a look at the Rams, for example. They have a D tackle named Aaron Donald, and he is on a 1-year, $123 million contract. If you didn't hear that or you think that I mispronounced it, I'll say it again. He's on a 1-year, $123 million contract. There's a few other players in the league that also have really crazy contracts that have nothing to do with reality or anything. And overall, the Madden salary cap is bugged. There's no question about that. How bugged it is, it might be a simple fix where we can just fix a few guys' contracts and give them something fair. Or it could be something that we have to completely redo. We're going to look at that with the coaches committee. And in the past, we've ran into this everything from Madden 2002, 2005, 2008. We used all those versions in the past. And typically the best solution that gets figured out is we find what the medium salary cap number is, then we go up a little bit from there. But for the most part, if we have to do some kind of massive change, it will be something along those lines. So with that in mind, please make sure that you're not trading away the farm because of the salary cap. Make sure that you're not cutting people that you really would rather not cut because of the salary cap, because we really don't know what the salary cap is going to be right now. And you might want to wait until we have that sorted out, and then we will address it. And to be honest with you, I don't like addressing these things while the season's going on, because we've got coaches on the coaches committee that are in the playoffs right now, and I want them to be able to focus on winning their games and enjoying their season, and I don't want them worrying about these things that could be heated topics. They could be things that, the coaches committee's going back and forth on and looking at data, and, we don't want to do that while the season's going on. We want to do that after. So if it causes us to get off to a little bit later start on our draft and things like that, that's just fine. That's not a problem at all. We have coaches in the league that want to wait until the real draft takes place so that they could kind of use that to have a better idea of what's in our draft. They like that. Or maybe they've got a team they like and they want to get the same guys their team is, because they're a devout fan of that team. Whatever. It's typically always a good idea to have our draft sometime soon after the real draft. We will also have a bump on the free agent pool. What does that mean? It means I'm going to beef up the free agent pool. We don't need a bunch of players in there that are in their 60s, and we don't need a bunch of players in there that are in their low 70s. We also don't want to see players in there that are in their, that are beefed up into their 90s and, these huge impact young stud players either in the free agent pool. But we do want to see some reasonable players in there in the, mid to low 80s and in the high 70s, because those are players that can, progress well if they're focused on, and they can, really help a team out. So that's what's going on with the free agent pool. You can expect to see some of those players beefed up a little bit so that they're more legitimate, players to get picked up if there's injuries and things like that. By the way, we also want to see our injury slider go up a little bit. Anyway, we're going to get it figured out, but this is season 1. We know that there's going to be bumps in the road, and we're going to go from there. And as I look back over season 1, I think the biggest mistake I made as a commish and that we made as a coaches committee is we probably shouldn't have bought into the hype about how Madden 2019 was so different than all the other versions, and we should have came out with more defensive sliders, just because I've always believed that coaches in Madden are always way better on offense than they are on defense, always. And if we would have gone with a more defensive-based slider scheme, we could have kept some of those high scores down, in our games, I think. And I think there would have been a little bit less salty and people getting butt hurt and all that. I mean, heck, we even had a couple coaches quit because they gave up, 60 points, So anyway, that's all stuff that's going on. Real excited that you're here with me for Commish Show number 4. And we're going to take a short break, but then we're going to be right back in just a moment.